Mr. Snow, after everything you've seen out there in the world, what are the Hunger Games for?
This week on Talking About the Movies, it's time to once again volunteer as tribute as we head back into the world of the Hunger Games by taking a look at the prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Plus,
It's hard to say I'm sorry.
A brother is a friend who can never leave you. It's the strongest bond in the world. I would kill to have a sibling to sing with.
Check out your old outfits.
Puffy jackets, puka shell necklaces, denim tuxedos. Did you have frosted tips? Ah! Look at you. You were so cute. I love it.
It was an era.
Tragic.
will the third time be the charm for the series that has had some great visuals, great animation, and great music overall? But story-wise, it's another story. But we'll see if Trolls Band Together finally puts it all together in the end. Two movies to look at today here on Talking About the Movies, so let's get to it. And welcome to another edition of Talking About the Movies. This is the show, of course, where we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. And there is a notable release that came out this weekend, but this week we're focusing on a couple of movies that I did not get to see a couple weeks ago. These are my very belated reviews of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, as well as Trolls Band Together. So with that said, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start off with the biggest of the two new releases we have here, and that is The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the prequel to The Hunger Games, written by the original author Suzanne Collins. It actually came out as a book a couple of years ago, and you basically follow the story that takes place 64 years before the events of the first film, where you're following a young Coriolanus Snow, who's played here by Tom Blythe, who was played in the movies by Donald Sutherland, on the path to becoming the tyrannical leader of Pan Am, including his relationship with the Hunger Games District 12 tribute, Lucy Gray Baird, played by Rachel Zegler. This takes place during the 10th Hunger Games. And, I was a little skeptical going into this, mostly because I think a lot of us were let down with what happened with the Fantastic Beasts movies. You know, the stories that were supposed to take place before the events of Harry Potter, and when those movies were kind of doomed from the start, because the first movie right out of the gate was not a good movie, and the films that came afterwards seemed extremely pointless, especially the last film they did, which only came out only last year, but it just really took me out of the Harry Potter world because of those movies. Like, the prequels for The Lord of the Rings never took me out of them because the Hobbit movies were still fun movies. Even though they still had Peter Jackson behind the scenes of those films, they were still enjoyable movies. But with the Fantastic Beasts films, it just felt like they were just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what was going to stick. Like, they were completely abandoning what the purpose of those movies were supposed to be like. And I would have never thought those movies would have taken place in the same world as Harry Potter, before the events of Harry Potter. Like, if it was taking place within the same universe as Harry Potter, yeah, but you try to tell me this takes place before the events of Harry Potter when you're just throwing stuff at the wall, and I'm supposed to buy into that. No, I'm not. Sorry, that doesn't work for me. And naturally, going into this movie, I was a little skeptical, even though I like most of the Hunger Games movies. First one I thought was a great film. I think Catching Fire is one of the best action movies of the last 10 years. Mockingjay Part 1 was not a good movie, and Part 2, I think, had a lot of the great moments in it, but I think Francis Lawrence pretty much summed it up that those movies should not have been split apart, which is funny because he said that this should have been split apart, and after seeing this movie, I wouldn't be against the idea. I mean, I think there is, we'll get to why I think that in just a moment, but I thought the movie overall was okay. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was just okay. It's kind of on the same wavelength as something like a Mockingjay Part 1, where I don't hate it, but it definitely felt like a lot didn't really happen, except in this case, there is stuff that happens in this movie, but it feels a little too rushed on so many different levels. I think there are some interesting ideas overall. You do buy into this relationship that Snow and this Lucy Gray have together. I think Tom Blythe and Rachel Zegler do a phenomenal job working off the chemistry of one another, and I've really liked Rachel Zegler ever since I saw her in West Side Story. Everything I've seen her in, she's really, really good. I really would like to see more of her in more movies, and it looks like she's getting to that level where they're going to put her in more movies, but even though, like, everyone's kind of against her now because of what she had to say about Snow White, even though she's going to be Snow White in there, which I'm still looking forward to it, mostly because of her. I think she'll be the kind of like what the equivalent to Halle Bailey in The Little Mermaid. She'll probably be one of the best things about the movie, even though the movie probably won't be that great, even though Little Mermaid was actually one of the big surprises of the year, honestly, but yeah, I like their relationship in this movie, and you do buy into it. There is a chemistry there that actually does work very well. I think there's a lot of great casting overall in the film. Peter Dinklage is very good in here. Jason Schwartzman, kind of playing the young version of Stanley Tucci's character from the Hunger Games movies, is very well done. You have Hunter Schafer from Euphoria in here. I think she was very good. Viola Davis seems like she's having the time of her life with this role. And there are times when the movie goes back to what makes the Hunger Games so special. And I think it works that you have a writer like Michael Arnott, who wrote Little Miss Sunshine and has written a lot of other great movies, as one of the writers on here. And Francis Lawrence, I think, does a very good job of handling this. At times, though, the movie does kind of get a little boring at times, and it really has a rushed ending. Like, it really feels like that maybe the plan was for this to be a series of films, but then they saw what happened with Fantastic Beasts and said, you know what, let's just rush this ending out. We don't know if we're going to make another one here, and if we do, we'll just go from there. And I feel like the ending of this movie really hurts the film in the end because it feels really rushed. Like in Mockingjay Part 2, it drags the ending out because this is the end. This is supposed to be the end of that story that Katniss Everdeen and Peeta were going through in that story, and of course they got to build up to the ending, to the end of that series. This, it feels like quite the opposite. It's like they're rushing everything out there just to get to the end of this, so they can say, "We have a movie here. If you like what you see, maybe we'll come back and do another one." But they don't really do a good job, honestly, of. I mean, they do kind of set up the next another movie down the road, which surely they're going to do because this is still a very profitable franchise. But at the same time, it definitely does feel like there is more of a rush in this particular case here to get this movie out there than to actually do something about it when it's all said and done. It doesn't really feel like this movie only had only one reason for existing, except to kind of bring back some of the magic from the first series of films again. Kind of also doesn't help that a lot of that magic that was in the other movies, like the tension of trying to survive this and trying to survive all the elements, it's kind of gone the wayside here. I feel like this movie may be a little bit too late, but if they're going to keep making movies like this, they really have to add another edge to it. Like, there really has to be another significant element added to this movie to really make it stand out on its own. That's one of the big things I didn't like about Fantastic Beasts. That's one of my biggest flaws with the Fantastic Beasts series, I should say, is that it never feels like they're trying to do anything new or unique with it. They just say, hey, this is a world that takes place with magic, and we're going to do it the same way we did in the other movies, which you can't do that. After so many years, you have to evolve your storyline and get a bigger concept in there to really move this along here. And here, it doesn't really have that spark yet, but maybe with future films, maybe they can figure out a way to expand the universe here a little bit, maybe give us some new ideas to work with. But with that said, I didn't hate the movie. Like I said, I thought it was okay for what it was. I did enjoy it overall. I didn't really come out of it that upset about it. I just wish that the ending wasn't rushed as it was, and I thought there should have been more of a spark that should have been added to this to really make it stand out. But when the action's good, the action's good. When the acting is good, the acting is very good. You still got some great music by James Newton Howard, a great direction overall, an overall decent script, some fun ideas. I did enjoy the film. I did really find myself enjoying it all the way through. I wish it was a little bit better, but regardless, I would still give it a strong recommendation. I'd say at a good thumbs up. If you go out to a matinee and see it on a Saturday afternoon, I think you'd have a good time with it. And I know that's what I did. So, but yeah, I feel like they need to add another element to this to really make this unique and different for its own, is to give it another edge to it. But for what it is, yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up. So. That's my thoughts on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now let's move on to the second film I saw this weekend, and that is Trolls Band Together. So Trolls Band Together is the third installment of the Trolls franchise. It began back in 2016. This is one of the more interesting series I've come across because every time I go into these movies, I'm always expecting more from them. The animation looks so cool. The music looks like a ton of fun. The voice work top-notch. But every time I come out of these movies, I always come out of them feeling very disappointed by the end result. Well, like, I wanted more from these movies. Like, I felt that way about the first movie. I mean, going into that film, I was really excited to see what they were going to do. And then when that came out of it, it was just kind of like, that was kind of a letdown. I kind of liked it, but I didn't really really say I can't really recommend it. Same thing with Trolls World Tour. I came in there hoping for more. They now have room to do whatever they want to, and it's more the same stuff they've done before, except it's a little bit more obnoxious, and it's not really all that funny. And here, it's sadly more of the same. You have a story here where Poppy, voiced by Anna Kendrick, and Branch, voiced by Justin Timberlake, who are now officially a couple, attempt to rescue Branch's brothers, one of them, Floyd, played by Troy Sivan, and after the boy band phenomenon Brozone was disbanded, and they come across his brother, played by Eric Andre. Poppy has a sister she never knew about, played by Camila Cabello. You have Kenan Thompson, Zoe Deschanel, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, a lot of the people back from the original films, as well as some new names in here: Eric Andre, Kid Cudi, Daveed Diggs, Amy Schumer, Andrew Rannells, RuPaul, Zoe Z. Mamet. So, again, great cast, great music overall. Like, the idea of having Justin Timberlake being part of a boy band is a fun idea, and they have NSYNC in here too. NSYNC is involved in the film in some way, shape, or form, but yeah, everything about this movie should be a fun movie. Everything about this should be really enjoyable. Well, the animation still looks great. The music still is very solid. They are getting very creative in here, and yet, once again, I came out of this movie really being let down because I went into it with so much more expectations. I went into it with so much more anticipation for what was to come. And again, I came out of there very disappointed by it. And then the fact that this has happened now 3 times, I have to say it now. Like, this is right up there with one of the most pointless trilogies in movie history. This is right up there with The Hangover. This is right up there with Fantastic Beasts. This is right up there with My Big Fat Greek Wedding, because we have to make that a trilogy because Nia Vardalos doesn't have anything else to do with her life except for cashing in on that first movie so much. I mean, we could throw the Home Alone movies in there too. The first 2 Home Alone movies are good, but nothing tops the first movie. And maybe I won't throw it in there, because I did like the second one, even though I don't really love it like I did with the first one. But this series definitely is very much up there with some of the most useless trilogies of all time. There was no reason for this to be a trilogy, because nothing happens in here. There's no story that's being developed here with this, and that's the biggest problem with these movies, is the story. Nothing gets evolved here. Nothing interesting happens between these characters that makes me say, wow, I'm glad they made another one of these because they expanded on the story here. Like, no, I mean, the only positives I could really take from this is the animation looks incredible. Well, there are times when you can definitely tell they're taking a lot of inspiration from stuff like Fantasia and also Yellow Submarine. Like, there is a lot of fun ideas here. And really, I think because I went into that because of those, and the fact that they have a great cast, and they actually are making fun of the fact that this had a chance to make fun of boy bands in general, which they do, but not very well. I think that's really why I came out of it more disappointed than I did with the other 2 movies, because the other 2 movies were at least had something to them, and I wasn't really going into this all with the idea that they're going to go all out on this. Like, I really went into this thinking they were going to go all out on this. This is the 3rd film now. You pretty much have free range to do whatever the hell you want to do with it. And yet, somehow, some way, I come out of it feeling very disappointed. I mean, it's like watching a Steelers game. Like, you expect them to go into a game where they have a better record than the other team, the team that only has 2 wins on their record, and then all of a sudden they play down to the competition, and it just ends in complete disappointment. That's what it feels like when I watch these movies. I feel like I'm getting disappointed every single time when we should be expecting much, much more from them. I mean, there's no reason why I should be coming out of this very disappointed with the end results of it. I mean, DreamWorks still makes great movies. I mean, DreamWorks made Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, which is a very underrated film. They made a ton of great movies in the last couple of years. I thought they were on their way back to a renaissance with The Bad Guys last year, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and then Ruby Gillman. But it's a step backwards again, and it's a shame because I really went into this with a lot of high hopes for it, and maybe that's just my problem with these movies. Maybe I should just not go into these movies expecting a whole lot, because I'm always going to be met with disappointment all the way through. And that's not to say I'm mad about the movie. I don't want to say I hate the movie, because there are parts of it that I really did like. I like the animation, I like the music, I like the voice cast they have here. It's just that story and the fact that nothing evolves from the first movie to this film that makes me really disappointed by this film. I'm very conflicted about this movie and my rating on it, because I really want to give it a thumbs down, but I have to praise it for the stuff that it did do well. And it's a mostly harmless movie, really. It's a harmless film. It's not doing anything that's going to be seen as offensive or offensively bad in general, but it's just there to be filler for your kids. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest flaws of the film, is that these movies are just filler for your kids. Like, kids love these characters. Who needs to give them a real story to work with here? But I don't know. I can't really vote thumbs down. I can't really vote thumbs up. So, you know what? Middle of the road. A split right there. For the stuff I did like, I like the animation. I like the music. I like the ideas that they have. But the story and, like, the lack of an evolution from the first film to this film really took this movie down a lot of pegs to really say I can't really recommend this movie. For the kids, they'll love it, but for me personally, I really did feel let down by it. So yeah, mixed opinion on that one. So with that said, let's go ahead, because I didn't do a show last week. I didn't get to do my usual recap for the month, so let's go ahead and do the recap right now. Okay, so recapping the movies I saw in November, I gave a thumbs up to The Marvels. I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it is. I actually found it more enjoyable than Captain Marvel did. I mean, I thought the movie was a ton of fun. I liked the camaraderie between the three main characters. I liked the creative chances they took with some of the setups they had. The editing is not that great. The villain is not that great either. The writing overall is all over the place, but I had a good time with it. I thought it was a good, fun ride. I'm not going to say it's one of the best MCU movies ever, but I definitely will say that it's better than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for. But the MCU really needs to really look at itself in the year to come to really get some of the bugs out of the way. So I give it a thumbs up, but I'm not going to say that the MCU is completely safe right now. I think it needs a lot of work done. So that's my thoughts on the Marvels. I gave a thumbs up to Wish. Another one that I thought that a lot of people were really negative on. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time. It's not one of Disney's better animated movies, but I look at it as a salute to the last 100 years of Disney animation. I thought it worked very well. I liked the little callbacks they had. I thought the music overall was really good. For the most part, I liked the characters. I liked the voice work. I thought it was an enjoyable film. I liked it more than a lot of people did, so if I have to be the one person that really defends this movie again, then so be it. I liked it. I thought it was a ton of fun. I gave a mostly mixed review to Taika Waititi's Next Goal Wins. I thought it was alright, but I definitely can see the disappointment from a lot of people. It's no Jojo Rabbit, but when it works, it does very well. I think it does have a lot of moments in there where the cast works very well. Some of the writing overall is decent enough. Mixed opinion, but a marginal thumbs up on Next Goal Wins. I gave a thumbs up to The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. Not going to be up there with some of the best of the Hunger Games movies, but I definitely found a lot more to enjoy about this than something like Fantastic Beasts. I thought there were some good ideas. The casting overall was really good. You liked the chemistry between the two leads. The action sequences can look good sometimes too, but if the ending wasn't so rushed and it didn't feel like they needed to add another edge to this to really make it something special to make this stand out compared to the other Hunger Games movies. But as it is, I liked it for what it is, so I give it a thumbs up. And finally, I gave a mixed review to Trolls Band Together, a movie that every time I go into one of these movies, I'm always let down after so much anticipation for it. And this is the point where I just had to say enough is enough. I like the animation, I like the music, I like the voice work. I don't like the story, and I don't like the fact that these characters have really not evolved since the first movie. I mean, these are movies that kids will really like, but as somebody like me who likes going into these movies hoping to get something good out of them, I was really let down by this. So a mixed opinion on that one. That's Trolls Band Together. So that's the month of November, and I gotta say, I think a lot of people would agree with this. It was a pretty big letdown of a month. I mean, not that there were a lot of bad movies, but a lot of the movies that I was really hoping would be worth seeing in a theater really were not. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot there that I would say I'm glad I went to the movie theater to see these films, but none of them really came out that way, unfortunately. But it wasn't a bad month, but it certainly was a letdown of a month. Hopefully we can end this year on a better note. But yeah, that last month really was kind of a letdown. But we still got one more month, and then it's on to 2024 and my best of the worst of the year list. So, well, with that said, that's it for this episode of Talking About the Movie. So thank you for watching. If you want to see some other videos I've done, check out the next page. If you like this, hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. So until then, take care.